The Clockmaker's Secret. The small town of Willowbrook had always been quiet. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other, and nothing exciting ever happened. But one day, a strange event changed everything. In the center of town, there was an old clock shop. It belonged to Mr. Hugo, a mysterious man who had lived there for as long as anyone could remember. He was a skilled clockmaker, and his shop was filled with beautiful clocks of all shapes and sizes. Some were small and delicate, while others were large and grand, their chimes ringing through the town every hour. But there was one clock that no one had ever seen working. It stood in the back of the shop, covered in dust, its hands frozen at exactly 3:15. The people of Willowbrook often asked Mr. Hugo about it, but he always gave the same answer. "This clock is special. It will work when the time is right." A curious discovery. One evening, a young boy named Daniel visited the shop. He loved watching Mr. Hugo work, and he often helped clean the clocks. But that day, something unusual happened. As he dusted the shelves, he accidentally knocked over an old book. When Daniel picked it up, a small key fell out. It was silver and beautifully carved, with tiny gears etched into the surface. He looked at Mr. Hugo, who had suddenly gone very still. "Where did you find that?" Mr. Hugo asked, his voice quiet. "It was inside this book," Daniel said. "Does it belong to one of the clocks?" For a moment, Mr. Hugo said nothing. Then he sighed and took the key. "Perhaps the time has come," he murmured. "The clock comes to life." Mr. Hugo walked to the old, broken clock at the back of the shop. Daniel followed, his heart beating fast. He watched as Mr. Hugo carefully inserted the key into a hidden keyhole. With a soft click, the clock began to tick. Slowly, the hands moved. 3:16, 3:17. The gears inside started turning, and a soft hum filled the room. Suddenly, the air around them shimmered. The shop blurred, and before Daniel could understand what was happening, he found himself standing in a completely different place. A step into the past. Daniel looked around. He was no longer in the clock shop. Instead, he stood in the middle of Willowbrook, but it wasn't the same. The streets were filled with horses and carriages, and the buildings looked newer. People wore old-fashioned clothes, and gas lamps lit the roads instead of streetlights. "Mr. Hugo." "What just happened?" Daniel whispered. Mr. Hugo smiled. "We have traveled through time." Daniel's eyes widened. "Time travel? How?" "The clock was built by my great-grandfather," Mr. Hugo explained. "He was not just a clockmaker, he was a scientist. He created this clock to open a doorway to the past. But it only works at a certain time, with the right key." Daniel was amazed. "But why have you never used it?" Mr. Hugo looked sad. "Because the past is dangerous. If we change anything, it could affect the future. That's why I've kept it hidden. Until now." A mission in time. Just then, they heard a voice nearby. A young man was talking to a woman, his voice filled with excitement. "I will finish my invention soon. It will change the world." Mr. Hugo gasped. "That's my great-grandfather." Daniel turned to look. The man was carrying a small box filled with blueprints. But before he could take another step, a thief ran by and grabbed the box from his hands. "My blueprints," the man shouted. Without thinking, Daniel ran after the thief. He chased him through the streets, dodging people and carts. Finally, he leaped forward and grabbed the thief's coat, pulling him down. The box fell to the ground. Daniel picked it up and ran back to Mr. Hugo. "Here," he said, handing it to the young man. The man smiled. "Thank you, boy." You don't know how important this is. Mr. Hugo looked at Daniel. We must go. We've already changed something. Back to the present. They rushed back to the clock. Mr. Hugo turned the key again, and the air shimmered once more. Within seconds, they were back in the shop. Daniel looked around. Everything seemed the same. But then he noticed something different. The old, broken clock was now working perfectly. Its hands moved smoothly, ticking away like any other clock. What happened? Daniel asked. Mr. Hugo smiled. We helped my great-grandfather keep his invention safe. Because of that, time has corrected itself. Daniel grinned. So, do you think we can use the clock again? Mr. Hugo chuckled. Perhaps. But only when the time is right. And from that day on, Daniel knew that Willowbrook's quiet little clock shop held a secret, one that only he and Mr. Hugo understood. The end.